many differing opinions on the morality and efficacy of IVF. The main thing that people argue about IVF is that IVF is not always completely covered by insurance, and this poses a problem for several families. Some people believe that IVF should be entirely covered by insurance. However, many people don't agree with this because the more money that goes to IVF, the less money that can go to other aspects of healthcare. And IVF is very expensive, so it will take a significant portion of that money and less to other aspects of healthcare. Today I will be discussing the purpose of IVF, the cost, and arguments for and against insurance coverage of IVF. I've gathered a wide range of sources from religious views of IVF from the Catholic Church all the way to a recent document from the President and his recent policy. So what is IVF and why is it necessary and how much does it cost? The Mayo Clinic provides a comprehensive overview of IVF detailing the steps involved, such as ovarian stimulation, egg retrieval, fertilization in a laboratory, and transfer into the uterus. According to the Cleveland Clinic, IVF is used for various reasons, such as blocked or damaged fallopian tubes, male infertility, or unexplained infertility, along with many other causes of infertility. The Department of U.S. Health and Services estimates that a single cycle of IVF can cost anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000, and that's assuming that donor eggs aren't involved. When donor eggs are involved, it typically is around $30,000, and that's just for one cycle. And most people need more than one cycle for it to be successful. Now that we know what IVF is and how expensive it is, what does insurance have to do to fix this problem? And what does Trump say about this? Some states have mandated insurance coverage in some part, but most states haven't. And none of these insurance companies have to cover it completely. There's only 15 states that require some form of coverage. But in February of this year, President Trump signed an executive order aiming to not only lower the cost of IVF, but make it accessible to everyone. This order includes policy recommendations, though its impact remains debated because people don't really agree that IVF should be covered by insurance, so it ultimately goes back to whether or not you believe that it should be covered. Now that I've talked about the variation in insurance coverage in Trump's new executive order, let me talk about arguments for and against insurance coverage. The argument of whether insurance should be covered by IVF ultimately goes back to whether you think it's right or wrong. People that agree that IVF should be covered by insurance also believe that it's good and that it reduces the financial strain on families because insurance believes that infertility is a woman's health issue and therefore don't cover it because they don't deem it medically necessary because adoption is always an option. And which is unfair because nearly half of infertility cases are caused by male factor infertility. Some groups raise ethical and moral concerns about IVF, particularly in embryo handling. Other issues include lack of respect for a traditional family structure. Some Catholics believe that IVF is immoral because it takes marriage out of conception. They also believe that it contradicts the idea of begotten, not made, which is an idea that says that if you make the child outside of the body, that it's not made in God's image and therefore goes against God's will and can be deformed or defective. And some anti-abortion groups believe that life begins at conception and believes that it is wrong because it sometimes involves the destruction of unused embryos. In conclusion, IVF is very important for many couples who desire to start a family but who have underlying problems preventing this and have differing opinions on whether IVF is moral or not. But at the end of the day, it's an objective of healthcare and therefore should be covered by insurance. IVF gives those who are infertile a chance to have a family, but it is expensive and takes multiple rounds to be successful. I don't think anyone should have to choose between their dream of parenthood and their financial future. It's time to make IVF accessible to everyone.